13 minutes past 9 as we welcome you. If you have just tuned in, great having you with us on the various platforms. Salam Media this morning and still coming from now right until 10 a.m. Shortly, we'll be taking a look at the state of education in South Africa. We know schools have commenced yesterday, schools have opened. We're also taking a look at Jacob Zuma, barred from the IEC for running for the 2024 elections. And also, we'll get some feedback coming through from matric achievements. And this morning we will be talking with one of the learners. We know matric results, the IEB matric results have come out already, and tonight we will await the Minister of Basic Education making the announcement with regard to matric results across the entire country. But right now we're going across to be joined by the national or by the executive director of the National Professional Teachers Association of South Africa, Naptosa. We're speaking with Basil Manuel. Basil, good morning to you. And as always, we appreciate you taking time out talking to us right here on Salam Media.
It's an absolute pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, the academic year starting once again, back to school blues. Yesterday, we seen schools open, and again, a number of issues that we speak about year after year at the beginning of the school calendar, talking about applications, late applications, queues, just general back to school blues that seem to crop up year in and year out, Basil.
Absolutely. And it is absolutely frustrating as well that in today's day and age, we are still sitting with age old issues of entrance into schools, the ability of parents to find spaces for their children. And we know there are problems in certain areas with in-migration, but this can't be our refrain year after year. There are also the complaints around whether the online system is serving the needs of the people. Now, we stand with the department and say we can't move backwards with technology, we've got to move forward. But the department has an obligation to ensure that the system is also more user friendly, and that is Gauteng and in a measure in the Western Cape as well. But the shortage of classroom space is worrying. In KZN, for example, we see a major problem of simply the department failing to give the norms and standards allocations from last year to the schools. And as a result, schools are not able to buy the full amount of either textbooks or other learner support material. And that's unacceptable. So some of these are created problems. Others are problems that beset us because, as in the case of Gauteng, you never know where people are going to pitch. But we need to be planning better and managing better.
Yes, talking about planning and managing, and we've seen the basic education department saying that the online admission system is not the problem, but lack of space at schools where parents want their children to be placed. Is that an issue?
Well, I tend to agree that the system itself is actually not bad. It needs to be tweaked here and there. But the shortage of space is the problem of the department. Now, there are certain areas where we've known for more than a decade that they are pressure points, that these are the popular areas. And of course, we haven't built schools there. We haven't provided extra classes. And Gauteng hasn't done badly in that respect in terms of providing. But the provision is too slow. And we are employing contractors that don't get the job done within the space of time. There's a school yesterday that was on television being built for 5 years. How do we honestly believe that that is going to help us? On another level, of course, there are those areas where people pop up and they suddenly become pressure points. But how we punish ourselves as a Department of Education, if we don't attend to the problems that arise in an area, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's management or whatever, if we don't attend to it, we create a problem elsewhere because pupils are withdrawn by parents and they are taken to what parents see as a better school. So the problem of parents shifting children around is part of the department's problem. They are to blame for it because they are not attending to issues. Take, for example, KZN. We have almost 60 schools damaged by weather. But the schools that were damaged in April last year have still not been repaired. So you then create this whole movement of people away from those schools, and you can understand why. So the blame has to be spread. It's not only parents who are late in applying, but I don't want to let parents off the hook who have been late. They are also to blame for some of the problems that arise.
Yes, and also considering the numbers, we're talking about millions of learners in this country, and these pressure points that you speak about need to be addressed. And like you mentioned, very early on, that this is an age-old problem. And just to unpack what or where these pressure points are and why we can't seem to get this right, Basil.
At first, Gauteng is a pressure point as a whole because it's an urban area. Uh, it's only made up of vast urban areas. There are few rural areas in Gauteng. The second point is that in every province where you find urban centers, if you go to Mpumalanga, Fitbank is having issues. If you go to Limpopo, you will find out that in the big cities there are problems as well. Eastern Cape, Gqeberha and Buffalo City, Durban and Pietermaritzburg, and so you can go on. So the pressure is with the rural folk trying to move towards the city. So urbanization is there. Now, you can't stop urbanization, but you can track the trends of urbanization. But with the economy being even worse than it was a few years ago, the rural areas can't sustain our people. There's no jobs. And the hope is that you can find a job in a bigger city. So we have to plan for that. We can't wish it away. And the folk will never return to the rural areas. So we've got to plan for more schools, better schools, maybe even bigger schools. But in fact, I think we even have to start debating whether in certain areas we have to reintroduce a platoon system to ensure that our class sizes don't get so big. One of the problems Naptosa has is that we agree when there's pressure in a particular area, okay, let's enroll the children. After all said and done, it's a constitutional imperative that every child has a right to education. But when we enroll the children and the numbers swell, quality goes out of the window. The quality of learning and teaching, the quality of a teacher being able to reach every child, and the quality of the learning experience for every child. So, how do we solve that in the short term? If it is a by platooning or whatever other system, we've got to look at that because we just can't manage, it seems, to build enough schools. Gauteng needs 30 new schools every year. That is what our statistics tell us, and that is a bridge too far. Other areas are a little better and performing a little better, but the pressure will remain in Gauteng, will remain in the Durbans, Cape Towns, and Gqeberhas of South Africa.
But also, Basil, we live in an unequal society in South Africa, and we've heard this over and over again. And we know, obviously, the digital age. Online is the way to go, but again, we find that in terms of school readiness, we find that many sectors of society where parents have actually expressed their unhappiness about these online portals. Not everyone has access to online portals. Now, all of that, put together tells us that we're still not ready to get to where we really want to be.
And I want to agree with the naysayers to say, let's be careful about simply just saying online will always be better. It has advantages. It has advantages for a particular type of child. And now I'm not talking about economically advantaged children. They are children that simply are able to embrace things like technology better. But there are many children who just simply need that additional help. So before we just run in one direction, we also know the limitations in South Africa, as you've mentioned, the unequalness of society, where some have and many, many do not have. So it is not a solution in itself, but it must be seen at this time as an aid. It's something we can use to assist. Just think of science and experiments and the days when we had to have a laboratory. Today, it's not an absolute essential because we can demonstrate the same thing virtually. And that assists with costs and the like. So I believe we are not looking ahead enough. There are many, many opportunities that are slipping by. But we need to also ensure that we equip every school, at least with electricity. When electricity is there, you would be amazed how innovative teachers have become and how much they do that the department doesn't supply. And this will help us if we have at least electricity and a decent classroom.
Yes, Basil, I'm going to put you on hold. We're going to go for a quick air break, and we'll continue this discussion as soon as we get back.
Thank you.
Are enduring unimaginable hardships. Ashraful Aid teams are on the ground, delivering crucial aid to those in need. But we can't do it alone. Palestine is suffering and they need your help. Your support can make a world of difference. Visit www.ashrafulaid.org today and donate to support, relief, and healing to those who are in need.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic Sharia and ethical financial products, look
Oh,
no further.
oh,
Sapphire Global
God.
offers a wide range of financial
Humanity.
That was not really my first message. I had had several messages, and in response to my initial messages that were condemning both the killing of Israelis and the killing of Palestinians and the devastating impact on hospitals, schools, and civilian infrastructure. I got a response that was positive in the majority of responses, but a few didn't feel that it was good to empathize and sympathize with Palestinian civilians. And some even sent me WhatsApp messages about the need for me to take a stance that only condemned Hamas. And so I issued that tweet to explain to people that I would rather side with justice.
Professor Truly Madonsela.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
Send food and send kindness to those who have lost their homes and have been plunged into poverty. For those who are a meal away from starvation, a food parcel means an entire family can eat this Ramadan. That's the power of food. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
We continue our broadcast this morning with Basil Manuel, Executive Director of the National Professional Teachers Organization of South Africa, Naptosa. Basil, just to continue and just to understand, what sort of pressure is this actually putting on schools, on principals, on the management at school to get the academic year off to a perfect start? Because I'm sure all the problems that we've been talking about are pretty disruptive and will take a good few days or sometimes even weeks before a school is actually settled and to be able to do what it needs to do to provide this quality education.
Absolutely. If you consider just overcrowding alone, trying to place children in classrooms, it sounds as though it's a simple exercise, but schools often don't have the furniture for it. You don't have excess furniture lying around. Those days have passed us long ago. And so you enroll children in good faith because you hope that the department will supply the furniture, and then it doesn't happen. And then it leads to other unhappinesses because parents become unhappy, and they don't blame the department, they blame the principal, they blame the teacher. Then, of course, there's the pressure on the children and the teachers. And now I'm talking about the mental health of teachers. When you are constantly under pressure, it must have some impact. And many of our teachers aren't teaching to retirement age because they simply burn out and they feel that they want to leave. Every year, we deal with dozens of teachers saying, I've had enough. I'm leaving now. And we say to them, it is not always a good financial plan to do so. And the answer is, I'd rather be happy with a little than wait for my pension, my full pension, but then not make it to the end. And that is the type of thing happening. But when you consider uh, not having reading and writing material, how do you start the teaching year? How do you start working? When you think about infrastructure, broken down classrooms and the like, as in the Eastern Cape and KZN, through the vagaries of climate, that already sets you back. Look, yesterday alone in KZN, schools had to close early because of the weather. Now, there's nobody that can change that situation, but what we have to do is ensure that when something happens in the school, we fix the school as soon as possible. It can't take a year to fix a broken window or a roof that has been damaged, and then you cause more damage. That is the type of impact that we are seeing happen now in our schools.
What sort of interventions have been put in place to try and address some of these issues? And also looking at from your perspective, from Naptosa, I'm sure that the powers that be that control education in this country are fully aware of what you and I are actually talking about, Basil.
Absolutely. So, what we have done as a union, Naptosa, and let me add, we were not the only union that did this, there were others that stood with us. We've met with the Department of Education on various occasions, together with Treasury, to talk about money. We've even gone to the state president's office, where we've had a meeting with the state president and various ministers to talk about the financial pressure that the country is under and how education can't be one of those departments that suffers. With the backlogs we already have, if we pile on more cuts, we are not going to see this change in the next 20 years. And we know that COVID had a major impact. There was no building program, for example, during COVID because monies had to be diverted to other things. And we understood that. But we haven't caught up with that backlog. So the backlog is not getting smaller, it's getting bigger every year. And we constantly, in meetings with the department, we're constantly talking about better management, we're constantly talking about better utilization of money. But we are also faced with problems on the outside of the education department, where we have the construction mafia interfering in the building of schools, delaying the construction of additional classrooms, etc. Those things we demand that parents need to get involved. Parents, teachers, the Department of Education, the governing body must all be involved in trying to resolve the problems that are plaguing our schools.
Well, obviously, it requires an urgent intervention, and as you mentioned, Basil, that we cannot afford to see these problems year in year out cropping up, and I actually shudder to think, what the future of education is going to look like in this country if. The status quo persists, and we continue in this manner.
Absolutely. We can't afford to continue as though this is how we need to be. We can't continue looking at it and saying this is our lot in life. It isn't our lot in life. Our lot in life is to be better. And we as a union, we as a people, we as parents, we as even our children must strive to be better. We can only do it as a collective. We can't always turn to look at government. We've got to push government in the right direction.
Well, thank you for that, Basil, and for coming on this morning and sharing what you have with us. And we wish you all the best. Please take care.
Thank you very much and goodbye.
Basil Manuel with us, Executive Director of the National Professional Teachers Organization of South Africa, Naptosa, against the school year commencing. And again, year in, year out, we seem to be faced with the same problems recurring over and over again. After the break, we're joined by Lulu White. We're talking about Jacob Zuma barred from running for the 2024 elections by the IEC.